Hello everybody, welcome back. We're finally back. We're live again. It's been almost a year since I have gone live, which is, yeah, it's insane, but we are back. We're here and I'm so happy to be back. Anyways, so um as people are kind of jumping on, I always ask in the on my post that when I announce that I'm going live, I always ask if there are any questions you guys have, and like to answer those ones first. The reason I do that is that I know when I go live, sometimes it's not a good time for people who are in England or else, other places in the world. And so I want to have it that you can still ask me questions and that still pops up and you're still able to then participate, even though you might not be able to jump on the actual live, because you can always watch these later. Anyways, hello. How's it going? So I have just a few goals for tonight. My plan that I have in mind. First of all, my little baby is sleeping. So if he wakes up, I will have to pause the live. I don't really know how to do that. I might just have to end it entirely and then possibly restart it. But hopefully he sleeps the whole time and we're good. He has a little stuffy nose, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, so, and then my other goal for tonight is to then talk about how to practice specifically. I feel like if I have just kind of a plan when I go live, like what I want to talk about, it's just a little bit easier. There's a purpose to it, there's a reason to it, rather than just sitting here and answering questions, which is also great. But I feel like I want to just kind of reiterate how to practice, because I think that it's sometimes one of those things that we forget, how to practice, why to practice, and all that. So I want to jump into that too. So we are going to jump into it. The first thing I want to do is I want to answer the questions that are on that people put on the posts. So, okay. Someone asks if you could explain the purpose about and how you practice with a metronome. I'm a beginner and don't use it, but I'm sure it'll help. Thank you. How to use a metronome. This is actually a great question. First of all, if you are a beginner, you probably do not need to be practicing with a metronome. Oh my gosh. Ah! It's a stink bug. Okay. You guys, I live in Tennessee now, and there are stink bugs all over. I kill them as many as possible. I probably kill 20 a day, and they're still here. Anyways, and they love the light. And then I have a light so that you can see me. Anyway, so if you see them flying around, that's my stink bug. All right. So how to use a metronome. Let's just talk about that. So if you are a beginner, you probably do not need to be using a metronome. I would probably say do not really think about worrying about it until you're probably an intermediate student. And the reason I say that is that usually you're going to be using a metronome for when you need to play with other people, or for if you're playing with an accompanist. When you're a beginner, focus. I think it's so much more important to focus on posture, extremely important, technique, extremely important, and listening. Like listening to whatever song it is you're playing, listen to that song. And the reason I say that is that will give you the tempo that you need, and you don't actually need to use the metronome. So that's kind of what I would say. Don't really worry about using a metronome when you're a beginner. How to start practicing with it. I'm using my phone for this, so I can't grab my phone, and my metronome is on my phone. But what I would do is I would just put it on a click, maybe 90. Set your metronome to 90 and play a scale, and every time it clicks, you're gonna play a note. So dum, bum, bum, bum. Play it like just right like that as it's playing quarter notes. And then you can do eighth notes, keep the metronome playing the 90, and then you play eighth notes. Bum, 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 something like that. That's probably the easiest way to start practicing with a metronome. But anyways, hello everybody. Hope everyone is doing really well. Thanks all for joining. Someone's from Florida. That's so awesome. Elena, I hope I'm saying that right. Hi. You've been, oh, something else. At 5 months in, I can use all help I can get. Awesome. How long does it typically take to learn vibrato? Oh my goodness. It depends, honestly. Some people pick it up really easily. I've had a few students pick up vibrato in like a week, and that's annoying to even me because it took me so long to learn vibrato. I would say usually it takes a few months. So give yourself a few months to learn vibrato for sure. It doesn't go fast. Why do you flick your hair back when you play violin? Oh my gosh, this has been asked so many times. I don't know. Why do you flick your hair back when you play violin? Yeah, a week. It took somebody a week to learn vibrato. I taught them vibrato because most of my students, when I was teaching, I don't teach in person anymore. But when I was teaching in person, most of my students saw me 2 to 3 times a week. And so when my students, I saw him 1 week and I showed him how to do vibrato. And then 2 days later, he came back to his lesson and I was like, oh my gosh, he's basically got it. And then I saw him 2 days later and he really had vibrato. And then a week later, I was like, we're incorporating it into songs and I'm teaching you like more advanced techniques about vibrato. It was, yeah, anyways, yes, a week. But that was not my story. My story was, it took me, I think, 3 months of just trying to figure out the movement. Okay. What's a metronome? Mm-hmm. Hi, when should I learn the vibrato? I'm like 4 months in playing the violin now. So the question isn't how long you've been playing, it's where you're at. So it takes everybody different amounts of time to play the play the violin, to learn the violin. So I have a video about before you learn vibrato. So I have a vibrato playlist. So go to my vibrato playlist. Stink bug's flying out again. Okay, we're okay. I'm just gonna ignore them. I would go to my vibrato playlist that I have on my channel. And the first video, I believe, is before you learn the vibrato, watch this. I would watch that video because it's gonna give you all the things you need to know before you start vibrato. And when I say those are all the things, like you have to be proficient at all the things. You at least need to be able to play a G major, a 2-octave G major scale very confidently. Like you want to be confident in first position. Very confident of your finger placement, of your hand, of your posture, of all of that, because if it's not correct and then you try to jump in and learn vibrato, it's gonna throw everything off. So yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. I haven't tried vibrato yet. I'm about 34 into Essential Elements book number 1. When is a good time to start? So again, like I said, it's not about like, oh, I'm in Essential Elements and blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. It's about how good you're playing before you start vibrato. So like I said, go watch that video. It's so important to be a confident violinist before you play vibrato. Vibrato is not a beginner technique. So some people will be good at 4 months and will be at the point that they can start learning vibrato. Most people, it will take about a year, to be totally honest, if not more. Especially if you're self-taught, it will probably take a little bit longer than a year. I know you're gonna have the temptation, you're like, I wanna start trying, I wanna do it. Just pause, take a second. If you want to watch the vibrato videos and see kind of what it's about, go for it. You can try it, but I promise if you just wait for a second and focus on the other things that you should be focusing on, like your posture, your technique, being in tune, learning the violin and listening a lot more to violin sound, like players play, that's gonna get you a lot further than worrying about vibrato. I know vibrato had so much and it's beautiful. It's my favorite thing ever, but that's what I would say. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna play in a fur coat, Mr. Alex, because We don't play in a fur coat. I think I've talked about this before. I think I've talked about it with you before, like specifically. You want to, when you're playing, you want to play with as little like on your shoulders. So most of the time I will be like in a t-shirt or something like that. Like I don't like to have even a hoodie. I can't really play in a hoodie because it's too much around my neck, and I like my violin to be nice and secure on my shoulder. So I usually am playing in like a t-shirt or something like that because it's just much better when you're playing the violin. It stays on your shoulder a lot better. So, okay, I want to talk about how to practice. I know there's so many, okay, y'all, let's not spam. Okay, I see your questions. Okay, I want to talk about how to practice really fast. Okay, so we're gonna talk about it. Okay, bear with me because I think it's extremely important. So the first thing, how to practice. I have 5 steps to learning how to practice. Okay. Every single person, it does not matter if you are a beginner violinist, it does not matter if you are an advanced violinist, you can follow these 5 steps. When I was a beginner, I could follow these 5 steps. Oh, I was like, what was that? It's my husband. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are, you can follow these 5 steps. The first thing is you want to practice scales. Scales are so important to practice. They're extremely important to practice, but you should not just be mindlessly practicing scales. You have to be listening to every single note as you practice your scale. So if you can only focus for a few minutes as you're playing your scale, only practice a 1 octave scale. If you're better and you understand how to focus and play, then you can practice a 2 octave scale. So some like more advanced people, they're practicing 3 octaves and 4 octave scales, but you have to be able to focus the entire time. If you personally know you cannot focus that entire scale, practice a 1 octave scale. Just trust me, it's so important. You're kind of focusing on whatever you decide to focus on. So if you decide that day, my goal today is to have a beautiful sound. That's all you're focusing on your scale. If your goal that day is to have a beautiful vibrato, that's all you're focusing on your scale. I usually pick one thing to focus on, and that's absolutely it. That's all I focus on in my scale. So that's how to practice your scales. The second thing you're gonna do is you're then going to practice exercises. I usually say to pick 2 or 3 exercises. Don't do any more than that. So maybe you're practicing long bows, maybe you're practicing vibrato, maybe you're practicing fast notes, maybe you're practicing, did I say vibrato already? I think I did. But whatever it is you're practicing, then pick a few of those things and pick 2 to 3 of them that you're practicing in your practice session. Now, after you do that, so now you've done your scales and you've done your exercises. Now, the next thing I would do is I would play, personally, this is what I do. At this point, I do a fun song, meaning like a pop song or a song that like a review song or something I know really well that I know I can just play, and it kind of just helps to warm up your hand and also gives your brain a little bit of a break where you're not like just focusing on all the random things you're practicing that day. You're able to do something and just take your mind off of it, have a little bit of fun, bring some levity to your practice session. My favorite way to do this, if you have not used the Tom Play app yet, go download the Tom Play app. I have a link to it. I think I'll be able to link it in this video after I'm done. It's my favorite way to practice a fun song because it has like the backup tracks and everything like that to it, and the music. So fun. So that's usually what I'll do at that point. Then the next thing I do is I practice my piece, whatever it is I'm working on. If it's Paganini, Sibelius, whatever it is, that's what I'll practice there. And I always say practice 3 things only in that piece. Play your piece through, or as much as you know of it, and from that pick only 3 things that you're gonna practice and get really, really good at whatever those 3 things are. Maybe it's even like a 2-note transition, like an A1 is your issue. Just practice those two notes and just get really, really good at that part. And then that's it. And then do your next thing that you need to work on. So that's how you practice your piece. And then finally, the 5th thing I say to do is play your song through. As much as that you can play your piece through. I feel like that's a great way to kind of end your practice session and kind of see, like evaluate where you're at in that piece. And then you're able to then the next day when you go back to it, kind of remember, oh, that was the section I probably should have practiced yesterday. So let me get to that today, right? So that's kind of my favorite way. Those are my 5 steps that I love for practicing. And that's what I would highly, highly recommend to do. It's my favorite way, and it works, honestly. So that's what I'd recommend, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever it is. That's how to practice. Okay, so I'm gonna go back through and see if you guys have any questions. I'm gonna run through. I've seen a few things come up as I've been going, so I want to make sure I get to everybody's questions. And then I also have questions here that were posted on my post that I put that I also want to answer. So many questions. Okay. Hi, Corey, you're the best. I love to watch a video sometime about your journey and learning and playing with your family. So cool. Oh, I love that. I'll tell you just really briefly. So I started when I was like 2 or 3 years old. Like, I don't really remember starting playing. I just kind of was playing the violin for as far as I can remember. And yeah, I have 4 siblings. We all play together. We did our first gig. I think I was like 9. We did a wedding for a friend. I still have a recording of it. It's so bad. It's so bad. Like, oh my freaking goodness. But obviously that was our first wedding when I was like 9 years old, and we did weddings, gigs, events, all that kind of stuff. We were like a quintet technically. My brother played double bass, so we had 2 violins, a viola, cello, and double bass. That was my whole family playing together. And I think we sometimes did 5 weddings a week. Like, it was insane. We did so much. And yeah, that's kind of what I did. And then I think I was like 14 when I won my first competition. And then I obviously studied violin in college. I then stopped violin for a little while and did a bunch of traveling, and then came back and started teaching violin. I was also in the symphony, I was in the ballet, I was in the opera, did all sorts of orchestras, but mostly a lot of quartet was a lot of what we did, especially as a family. I love playing in quartets. It's probably my favorite. Some of my favorite music is quartet music. So yeah, that's a lot of what we did. We did a lot of competitions as a quartet. So yeah, and then kind of we all, as my family all went separate ways. We all like kind of just did our own thing, and then I kept teaching, I kept playing. I was still like playing in the symphony and the ballet and the opera occasionally, and then then I moved to a farm, and I'm here. So that's pretty good. That's why I say I'm retired, is because I don't play anymore at all since I moved. So just me and my little violin, and that's why I think I love to get to like still use my knowledge and teach a little bit on YouTube, is because it, like, I feel like I have this huge like 30 plus years worth of knowledge of teaching and learning and doing all the things, and I love to be able to then share that knowledge. Anyways, okay, so that's kind of my story a little bit. Can you do vibrato? Yes, I can do vibrato. My favorite note. F flat, F natural, F flat. Wow, my brain tonight. I'm so sorry. It's here. Can you do vibrato and show us how to hold the bow, please? Yes, this question was asked 700 times. Okay, how to hold the bow. What I like to do is I like to hold my bow with my left hand, and then you're gonna take your right hand and you're gonna put your thumb into like a little, I call it a thumb bump, and place it here between the oh my gosh, wow, my brain today. This is the thumb grip, excuse me, oh my goodness gracious, the thumb grip and the frog. And you're gonna put it like this, and you wanna make sure that you can see your thumbnail. Like, if you're looking in a mirror, make sure you can see your thumbnail that way. You're gonna place your first finger on first, and you're gonna put it between these 2 knuckles. Do you see that? It's right between these 2. You don't want to place it on top of this knuckle, because then you don't have enough hold there, and your finger's gonna be too high. And you don't want to place it on this knuckle, because then your finger is actually going to start wrapping around, which you also don't want to do. So right there between these 2 knuckles, and then these 2 fingers are gonna actually just kind of sit on top of the violin. They also kind of go right there between the 2 knuckles. right there, sitting like that, kind of thinking, if you like to think about it, like some people say it's like a bunny, and that's how it's supposed to be, like bunny teeth. That's how those two fingers sit. And then your pinky. The pinky is the most important finger on your bow, by far, 100%. And the thumb, and the thumb. Pinky is so important. He needs to be sitting up and standing up on the violin, on the bow like this. So do you see how you can see this knuckle? It's right there. And you can see this knuckle, it's right there. That's how you want it to be. Like, it has to make a beautiful circular motion like this. A lot of times the main issue that I see is this. You do not want this, or I think usually it's like this. And the problem is that your wrist is probably too high or something like that, and your pinky has to stretch in order to reach the bow. But if you actually just relax your hand and bring the bow a little bit closer to your body, whoopsies, then you're able to have a pinky that's completely curved. So don't let your pinky get stretched out. Don't let your hand get stretched out. This is gonna hurt after a while too. And when it comes time to start moving your wrist as you play, it's gonna be a lot more difficult. So making sure that pinky is completely curved is extremely, extremely helpful. It gives your hand a lot more movement, and it gives your wrist movement, and you're able to have a nice, beautiful bow sound and bow control. So that's how to hold your bow like that. I hope that was a helpful explanation. Do you hate the word fiddle? No. What? Why would I hate the word fiddle? I love the fiddle. I'm actually trying to learn fiddle. Since I moved to like the Nashville area, I need to learn fiddle. Okay. Yes, I love fiddle music. Thank you. Yes, me too. But see, I'm a very, very classically trained musician, like very classically trained. Like, I could tell you all about music theory. And most people that do fiddle music, like, nobody really cares about theory, right? Yes, so I need to get that all out of my brain and just like fiddle, and that's kind of the hardest part for me. Okay. And then the news was a huge stink bug. Oh my gosh. All right. Why did the devil pick Georgia to go down to? I have no idea. Do you know when I would benefit from tom play? So that's a great question. It depends on where you're at. So tom play has a few different, what's it called? You can either select beginner, intermediate, or advanced on most of the pieces. And what they'll do is they'll actually just kind of take out notes, make it a little bit simpler for the beginner one. So you can actually literally select that you are a beginner violinist, and it will modify the pieces for beginner violinists. And I think the reason also I really like tom play is it's so incredibly important as a beginner violinist to be listening to violinists, to be listening to whatever pieces you want to play played by a violin. You want to get the sound of the violin in your ear, because violin is so much played by ear. Like, we don't have frets on our violin. It's all muscle memory, but also not only is it muscle memory, it's ear. So you have to have your muscle memory and your ear working like constantly as you're playing. And so it's so important to be doing a lot of listening. So by doing a lot of listening, like on tom play, it actually plays the violin part for you. So you can play along with that, and you can be able to tell when you're not playing the right notes or if you're not playing the right thing. So I think that that's kind of helpful, and it's also extremely important. So that's kind of another reason I love the tom play app for my students, is because it just helps them to hear the piece. So you see the notes, you hear the piece, and then you can play it, which is kind of just all the things you want to have as you're learning pieces. So that's kind of why I like tom play. So yeah, it does have beginner pieces. If you are like a super beginner, like you learned yesterday, you probably want to wait a little bit till you're able to play all the notes, like maybe on a few strings, and understand a few more things about the violin. And then after that, like I said, they have beginner modified versions of most of the songs, which is really cool. Yeah. Hi, Cora, good to see you. Hi, good to see you too. Paganini, blah, child play, I know, right? Ooh, you're working off the Carl Flesch? Oh, geez. That Carl Flesch scale book was the bane of my existence for so many years. Well, actually, I take that back. I actually really enjoyed doing, like, it's a great warm-up to do, but whew. Oh my gosh, you're back. Yes, I'm back. Hello. Have you tried anything else other than the violin, or is it your first instrument? I have a very serious philosophy here, where I know this is not popular opinion. I believe that you should play one instrument, just one, but do that one very, very well. So I know I do not play any other instruments. I have zero desire to play any other instruments. As a matter of fact, that's kind of why I don't even dabble in, I know it's the same instrument, but I don't even dabble in the fiddle, because I am a classical musician, or I was a classical musician and very classically trained, and that was what I did. Now at this point in my life, I do want to kind of start doing fiddle and start doing that more. But when I was a classical musician, it was just, I was a very you want to be focused, especially with the violin. It is a fun instrument to play, but it takes a long time, a lot of hard work to get good at it. And if you are also trying to play the piano and the flute and the cello and oh my goodness gracious, how are you dividing your practice time? I don't understand that. I was practicing my violin for 5 hours a day. Was I supposed to practice for 40 hours a day? It was not going to add up. So I'm a very firm believer in just one instrument. So that's a very long answer to yes, the violin is the only instrument I play. It will always be the only instrument I play. Yeah. I've got 3 gigs around for St. Pat, easy fun, tunes, red hair boy. So fun. You're going to have to teach me some fiddle, because do they have alternative tunings on fiddle? Nope. Fiddle is exactly the same as the violin. Literally exactly the same. I miss you. Oh, you're so sweet. Thanks for being here. Were you good enough to play Jewish weddings? I don't play any specific, does Jewish have different music? I'm not exactly sure, but I did actually, no, I take that back. I did play a few weddings of people that were Jewish, but I still played very classical, and I guess pop songs too, but yeah. I need some hands-on beginner time so I know my posture isn't going to do long-term damage. Ooh, that's actually real. Honestly, if you would like to send me a video, you don't have to include your face if you don't want to, of playing, and you can kind of show me your posture. I am happy to kind of help you and see where you're at. If you want to email it to me, coreytheviolinist@gmail.com, you're totally welcome to. Or if you have a teacher, that's great. There's also a lot of teachers that teach online. But yeah, that's because that's real. Yeah, don't do long-term damage. Hello. How much should I spend on a bow? That definitely depends. I think about somewhere around $100. I bought a bow on Amazon. Dear Jesus, I can't even remember what it's called. Viotti, I believe. I think it was $70, and that's a decent student bow. One of my favorite bows. I do not have them right now, but the bows from Kennedy Violin of their Giuliani Bright line, they are colored, and they have colored bow hair. Oh my goodness gracious. That's what my dreams are made of. My childhood dreams became a reality when they sent me those bows. And they were very, very good bows. A lot of times bows that are colored are not very good. These were very good bows. I was living out my childhood dreams. They were very good. But yeah, like I'd say about $100. My absolute favorite bow for a student is the Coda Bow Prodigy. Absolute favorite student bow, but that wasn't I think it's $300. So it depends on your budget and how much you're willing to spend. I would say spend the money on a nice violin, and that's because your violin is what's going to sound squeaky, not your bow necessarily. If you have a super crappy bow, then yeah, but I would say spend the money on a nice violin, and then usually the bow that will come with it is fairly decent. Okay, I'm gonna start practicing again now that you're back. Would be great. practice with me again. Yeah, for sure. I love that idea. I wasn't sure. I don't know if those are boring. Maybe they're just slightly boring for me to film because it's just me like focusing the whole time. But yeah. Hi, Corey, glad you're back. What are some of your favorite string quartet pieces you'd recommend checking out? Oh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Okay, depends on what level you're at, first of all. If you're at a low level, something super basic like Eine Kleine. I personally, I know it's so overplayed. I love playing Eine Kleine. It's so fun. All the movements of Eine Kleine, I love. Another really good one is Divertimento. Oh, what's my favorite one? I want to say it's Divertimento number 1. I love Divertimento. It starts, oh my gosh. I love that one too. So I think Mozart, if you are a beginner quartet, is a great place to start. Now, if you're more advanced, Shostakovich number 8. Oh my freaking gosh, has to be one of my favorites. I also love Bourdin. He's great. Bourdin's a great one. Let's see, Haydn, I would say Haydn's a good intermediate level where it's like trickier than Mozart, but it's not as difficult as like a Shostakovich. I know I'm missing some. Barber. Oh my gosh. Yes, Barber. Anyways, all those ones. Obsessed with string quartet. You're making me remember all the string quartets I love. Okay, so incredibly important. You are right. Your statement is not credible. Okay, wait, what? I'm not sure what that was about. Hi. My ADHD kicks in when you said one instrument. I know, but like honestly, I think that's one of the issues today is that everyone kind of wants to play. I'm so sorry if you're one of those people that play a bunch of instruments. This is just my personal belief. But I just think it's one of those things like everyone wants to do everything, but like if you're doing everything, you're gonna be good at nothing, right? So I would rather be an expert at one thing than have be able to do all these things like kind of good. That's just my philosophy. Yeah. I picked up on more seriously earlier this year and see a lot of people suggesting Suzuki for practitioners who have general knowledge. Yeah. So I learned on the Suzuki method, but like I said, I started when I was 2 years old. And so Suzuki is great. Honestly, it's one of those things that I go back and forth on it. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, if you're an adult, like Suzuki moves so slowly, it's kind of just monotonous for you. But at the same time, Suzuki is also incredible. So if you are starting below the age of 10, 100% Suzuki, do it. You have to, hands down. If you're learning by yourself and you're looking for good pieces to play, get a Suzuki book and just go through the Suzuki book because it's so clearly like every single song builds on each other. Every single song teaches you a new skill. Yeah, they all build on each other. So they're absolutely incredible. So that's what I would say is if you're learning by yourself, grab a Suzuki book. If you're like, what songs do I practice? Like, what do I play? Get a Suzuki book. It will literally lead you through the whole thing. And practice them until you're good at them. And then the best thing about Suzuki too, your goal is to memorize every single song in it. I know that sounds crazy. To this day, I have every single Suzuki song. There are 10 books. I have every single Suzuki song memorized. But that gives you a huge repertoire. Because like I said, when you're practicing, you need that review section of your practice. And in that review section, play the Suzuki songs that you know. Play those songs that you learned before because like I said, they all build on each other. And now you're practicing those things over and over and over again, those skills, and you're just getting better and better at them every single time you play it. So I do think Suzuki is actually quite good, especially if you're learning by yourself. If you have a teacher, obviously just do it what your teacher's telling you to do. But if you're learning by yourself, yeah. Or if you're under the age of maybe 11, 12, Suzuki's great. Yeah, as a practice manual. Yep, exactly right. You're exactly right. Has Peter been playing? Your boys are adorable. Oh, you're so sweet. He has. So he just turned 3. So he finally fits. I have a little, what size is it? 16th size violin. And I was trying to teach him earlier, but it wasn't quite fitting him, but now it fits him. And he's learning, and he's so cute. He loves it so much. We have like little jam sessions at night to one of his like little, it plays like all the little kid songs, and he just kind of plays along, like obviously not playing much, but it was very fun. Verdi, Puccini, Mozart, yes. What was you hear if you only hear one? I know, well, I don't think you can pick one opera either. Like you have to hear all of them. Hi from the UK. Hi. My brother lives in the UK, so that's super cool. How long did it take you to learn / master vibrato? So I learned vibrato when I was 7 or 8. So a long time ago. So I don't really remember how long it took me. I do remember it took me quite a while. And I remember I learned arm vibrato first of all. So it's a little bit different than wrist vibrato that I teach. I think wrist vibrato, to be totally honest, is a little bit easier to learn. And I wish I learned wrist vibrato, but I learned arm vibrato. So I just remember sitting in my room trying to get the movement happening, and then one day it like clicked. The most important thing to remember when you're doing vibrato though, is that this has to come off. Your first finger has to come off the violin. I call this your anchor. It has to come off the violin for you to do vibrato. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I think I didn't realize that either, because I remember sitting there and my whole violin kept shaking the whole time. And I was like, why can't I do vibrato? And suddenly I figured out that the anchor needs to come off and I could do vibrato. So if I just helped somebody there, I hope that was helpful to somebody. And then how long did it take me to master vibrato? Years and years and years and years and years. Like I said, I learned vibrato when I was 7 or 8. I then got to college. No, it was before college. I take that back. I was prepping for college auditions, and my teacher changed. That's when I got a new teacher, and she was like, why, like you need to start doing wrist vibrato. Like this arm vibrato is not working for you. And it was not I didn't have enough depth of vibrato, just a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, so I started doing wrist vibrato. So I literally changed my entire vibrato right before college. And then the rest of my career, I've done wrist vibrato. But every single day, to this day, I still practice vibrato constantly, because it's just something that you're never, like, you have to continue like practicing it constantly. So when do you master it? I don't know, still working on that. In light row, when you play A-C-E, sequence, do you recommend telling the second finger on the C sharp so it stays down during the open E, or is it better to lift it for a cleaner string crossing? I think you lift it. I always lift it. I personally, unless I'm gonna be playing double stops, I don't usually leave a finger down. But you have to remember, you have to keep that C sharp down, that high 2 down, the whole time until your bow goes to the E. Because if you pick it up too soon and you haven't changed bows yet, you're gonna get a squeak or something like that. So practice it slowly. Move your bow, then lift up, then play. That's the sequence of it, right? A, C sharp, move your bow, lift up, E. And obviously as you get better and better at it, it will happen faster and faster. But I don't personally leave the finger down, because the likelihood of you touching is too, I don't know. Even to this day, I don't leave the C sharp down. Yeah, I think ultimately your longevity is going to rely on your body mechanics as much as it does practice. Yes, very true. I thought I heard my baby, I'm sorry. I've just started learning violin. I've been playing guitar for 20 years. I gave most weekends, weddings, pubs, etc. Awesome. Hardest thing I find is bowing. I have a few questions. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and put the questions down there. Bowing is the hardest part about violin, which is kind of crazy sounding, because on the left hand, you have to like literally, you don't have frets. You're trying to figure out everything. You're shifting all the things. I still think the bow, as far as sounding good, is the hardest part, because it takes so much finesse of like, if you press just slightly too wrong, or your arms slightly off, like it just changes everything, and now you don't even sound good anymore. So even if you're completely in tune over here, but your bow isn't doing the correct thing, yeah, bow is for sure the hardest. But go ahead and put any questions you have. Go for it. Is your violin more of a dark, warm tone or a bright, sweet tone? it's not really a dark tone. I think it's got to be a lot brighter. I personally, though, I don't like a super bright violin. When I was buying my violin many years ago, I tried probably 1,000 violinists, if not more. I traveled everywhere searching for a violin. I tried so many, but I found out that I don't like a super dark tone because it tends to sound a little bit more muted. And if you get a super bright violin, it's so abrasively loud in your ear. So I kind of found something that was a little bit more mellow, but still very, it projects, but it's a mellow tone. I think is kind of my preferred. Like, I've played my sister's violin a few times. Hers is quite similar to mine, but hers is a lot brighter, and to me, it's too abrasive under my ear. But she plays my violin, and she thinks my violin is too mellow sounding. So it's kind of a personal preference. I prefer a much more mellow sound. Once upon a time to remember. I'm not sure what that is. What are your favorite violin strings for your violin? I personally use Ava Perazzi. I love the Ava Perazzi, and I have a gold E string because my E tends to have that, you know, when you go to play your E and it just kind of goes and make literally no sound. I tended to have a lot of issues with that on this violin, so I got a gold E and it was perfect. So yes, I have Ava Perazzi strings. They are my absolute favorite, my ride or die. If you're looking for a slightly cheaper student string, I think that two of my favorites are Helicore and Dominant. Dominant for sure. I think they've gotten so expensive now. So I don't know if Dominant is technically considered a student one anymore, but when I was growing up, my entire childhood, I used Dominant strings on all my violins. I bought a $400 pounds violin that came with a bow and rosin. The rosin I think was cheap one. Should I upgrade it? I tried using it, but feels like half of it is going across the bow. Yeah, I would upgrade it if I were you. I have one that I really like. Let me see if it's here. Oh, I think I have it in my case. I have two rosins that I really like. I'll tell you right now about both of them. Yes, I have both of them right here. So if you're looking for just a cheap student one that's good, the Kaplan. I just got this on Amazon. It's great. I love it. I love that it's in a case like this. The ones that are in the cloth and you have to like hold the cloth. I think they're sorry, they're so stupid. So I love this one. Oh, it's not closing as I say that. So it's in a cute little case. It just pops open. You got your rosin there. Also, I love a dark rosin. It's my favorite. So this Kaplan one is one of my favorites. I have it linked in so many of my different videos talking about, like, I think it's like a what's in my violin case I made at one point. I have it linked there and a few other videos, but I do love the Kaplan. Then this other one, this one here is an Andre rosin, and this one's a lot more of a professional rosin. It's a little bit more expensive. I think it's like $20 or $30 instead of this one's like $5 or $10. I don't know how much this one is, but again, it's a dark rosin. This one's a very sticky rosin, and I personally love a very like sticky, bitey tone. So I love this rosin, and which is why I think I also like carbon fiber bows, is because I like that bitey kind of just like you can really dig in, especially for like Shostakovich. But yeah, this one though, if you get this rosin, do not use any other kind of rosin. Do not use anybody else's rosin. Do not loan this rosin out to anybody else, because what happens is it will literally strip whatever is on their bow. It will strip off all the rosin. It will strip off everything to where you cannot, you can't play your bow anymore. You literally have to get your bow rehaired. So if you're gonna use this, only use this rosin on your bow. Don't give it to anybody else. Like, this is solely your rosin. But this is the only rosin I use on, I know my Coda Luma uses this rosin, and that's it. And that's what I use for like my professional rosin. Otherwise, on all the other bows, I use my Kaplan, which I think it's a great rosin. I've not had any issues with it at all. I love it. So that's what I'd say for rosin. Okay, I'm trying to get through questions here, so I'm not here forever. Do you still have all the violins from your violin collection video? I do. Yep, all of those. Thank you so much. I am currently working on vibrato, and that's helped a lot. Good. Okay, good. I'm glad. Can you please play Despacito on the violin? I actually have a video of me playing Despacito. If you go way back in time, I have a video up of me playing it. Okay. Can you recommend any books for adult beginners? Having played the piano, I recognize the importance of scales and arpeggios. Yes, thank you, God bless. Okay, there's so many I would recommend. So as far as scales, I would say I have a link to scales because sometimes they can make scales in scale books. Ah, there's the stink bug again. Oh my goodness me. Okay, it can make this, I almost said the stink bugs. It can make the scales so complicated in some of the books. So what I would recommend is I would recommend just downloading the scales that I have. I have 1 octave scales and 2 octave scales. Super basic, just the scales. Very easy to follow. And that's kind of what I would recommend for scales. So just do something super basic if you're a beginner. And then as far as etude books, I would say Shradic is probably the best beginner etude book. Now, when you're first starting out though, like if you've just started playing, I would actually say, I know we were just talking about Suzuki, I think I would recommend just getting the Suzuki books and learning the songs in the Suzuki book. And the reason I say that is sometimes etudes and all that kind of stuff can just get so complicated and boggy downy real quick when you're still trying to figure out how to play. So I almost would say get the Suzuki books and just start there before you kind of get a whole bunch of like etudes and start bogging yourself down with all that stuff, which is so important, but just maybe wait a little bit and learn some pieces and get some wins under your belt and then start, because you don't need to start worrying about etudes when you first start. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Does violin give you ear damage? Not as far as I know. I believe I've not gotten tested, but I think I have ear damage actually in my other ear. And I think it's a lot more, not from my violin. I think it's from playing in loud symphonies and being in like the pit, like an orchestra pit, where the music is just super loud and like maybe you have a trumpet next to you and a timpani and yeah. So that's what I think. I don't have any, I can hear perfectly out of my violin ear, perfectly. Okay. I'm not sure if the position that I'm holding the violin feels correct. Still feels super awkward. I was saying that you're supposed to be able to hold the violin with your chin, but it just falls for me. Yes. I personally play with a shoulder rest, and that's how you can hold it with your chin. If you do not have a shoulder rest, you're not gonna be able to hold it with just your chin. So if you want to play without a shoulder rest, I am the wrong person to ask, because I've been using a shoulder rest the entire time that I've been playing, all the 30 some odd whatever years. So I always play with a shoulder rest. And what I would do to learn how to hold your violin, it's so, I'm gonna be getting that stink bug after I finish this. Okay, because he's annoying me. What I would do, I'm gonna try and show. I actually have a video coming out tomorrow about how to hold your bow and how to hold your violin that I hope is a little bit more helpful, but I'm gonna show you a little sneak peek now. How I recommend learning how to put your violin on your shoulder. This is gonna look so excessive, but just trust me, it's going to work, okay? So put your violin under your shoulder like you're in rest position, right? So put your violin in rest position here. I'm gonna try and do this all within frame as I'm sitting on my couch. Okay, so we're in rest position. Remember, when you're in rest position, watch your bridge. You don't want your hand to be across the bridge. You want it to be behind the bridge, okay? So you're in rest position, and your rest position goes on the right-hand side. So it's under my right arm. So I have my left arm, my violin's gonna sit over here. I have my left arm over here. I always tell my students wave, and then you're gonna grab your violin right here, okay? Then you're gonna stretch your violin all the way out. I'm stretching my violin all the way up, if you can't tell. And then you're gonna flip it up this way. And you're gonna want your violin to be parallel to the ground, okay? And you're gonna touch the top of your head. Just trust me and do it. And then you're gonna touch your chin. And then you're gonna put it on your shoulder. Now, if you notice, I didn't put my chin on my violin yet. It's just my violin sitting on my shoulder. And I'm gonna make sure that my violin is parallel to the ground still. So it's not like this, it's not up, it's not down, it's parallel to the ground. And then after you have your violin here, again, it's pretty, I got it in my neck, right? It's not sitting out here, It's in against my neck. You want to actually feel the violin. There is nothing wrong with feeling your violin. I know some people get really weird about it touching their chin or their neck. Don't get weird about it. You actually want it to be touching your neck because that's what's gonna help you to hold your violin. Then you're gonna take your finger, yes, take your finger, do this exact thing. Lift up your chin and set it onto your violin, like that. And that's how you're going to hold your violin, like that. And that's it. I hope that's helpful. And kind of obviously like do this as you're learning. Like, so if you're a beginner and you're learning how to put your violin on your shoulder, just keep practicing this method until you're really confident with where your violin goes and you're comfortable with where it happens. Because again, we're trying to make everything muscle memory to where you don't even think about it anymore. It just goes up on your shoulder, right? But if you, as you're learning, just do the method and it's gonna be super easy. Okay. Hey, Despacito. Yes. I told you where to find it. Play He's a Pirate. Oh, it's so funny. You guys are asking for videos that I've played before. They're all, if you go scroll back on my channel, I've played that one too. Okay. Can you show us how to use rosin for the first time? I had no idea what I was doing for the first time. LOL. I tried using my car keys. Oh my gosh. Didn't have sandpaper and it broke on me. Oh yes. So this is such a lie that is for cheap, super duper cheap, crappy rosin. You have to scratch it in order for it to work. And even then, I do not actually think you have to scratch it. I've never had to scratch a rosin in my entire life. I think it's a lie. Because if you just take your rosin and you start rosining, it'll work. So like, for instance, this Kaplan rosin, I got this, well, a little bit ago now, but you can see I've never scratched it, ever. It's never been scratched. Even here in the center, it's still not, like I think the cake was slightly warped when I got it, and it's still not been touched, but you can tell that it's never been scratched, ever. You don't need to scratch it. All you do, I can't use, again, this bow has Andre rosin on it, so I cannot put it on the Kaplan, but you just start going. That's it, okay? So I'm gonna show you, hold on. I'm gonna show you on my Andre rosin, how to use rosin. Hold it in your hand like this, put your bow on top of it, and just start going. That's it. I'm going pretty firmly. If you look and see, my bow hair is going all the way down. I'm going pretty firmly against my rosin. And you usually want to go in one direction. That helps because sometimes you can put the rosin on, take the rosin off, is what one luthier told me. So just go in one direction. You want to start at the frog. Sometimes I will do a few extra strokes at the frog to get the rosin kind of going and then go all the way down. And that's how you rosin your bow. Yes, you do not need to scratch it. Again, also, if you want to see, my Andre rosin, never been scratched. And it works. So that's an expensive, nice rosin, never been scratched. Cheaper rosin, never been scratched. I don't know when that came out. Like, honestly, like I never scratched a rosin, and then I started to, like, I went to a school and I was teaching a masterclass at a school, and all the kids were like scratching their rosins. I was like, what is going on? So I think it somehow became a thing like in school orchestra that all the teachers were like who don't really know how to play the violin, were like, oh, you have to scratch the rosin so that the dust actually starts. No, it's all a lie. You don't need to scratch your rosin. So I'm sorry if you bought some nice rosin and you scratched it. YouTube short you did when you called it gig rehearsal. I love watching you play. It really helps me sleep when I watch it. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that makes sense. I've been thinking I do a shoulder rest, trying to hold it. Yeah. You gotta have a shoulder rest. If you have a shoulder rest, you can actually hold it on your shoulder. I'm sorry. Someone keeps asking me something. I think it's Spanish. I do not know. Good to see you back. Is there a good exercise practice vibrato when you don't have a violin with you? Ooh, that's a great question. Yes, there is actually. This is something that I do. So in case, sorry, I should read the question a little bit louder. The question was, is there a good exercise to practice vibrato when you don't have a violin with you? Yes. So what I do is if I am running late to a gig and I know I'm not gonna be able to warm up, I'm literally gonna take my violin out, sit down and play, I will actually warm up in my car.
by what you do is you place this, really, this is what I do, okay? It works so well. So you're gonna put your finger down, whatever finger you wanna use, and you know how you do noodle bagel? And you're just gonna noodle bagel really, really fast. And this kind of gets your vibrato warmed up, this gets your fingers warmed up, and I do it on every single finger. And I will literally just sit, as I'm driving, I will just be warming up my fingers, every single last one of them. And then if I'm in orchestra, if like I'm playing the symphony that day and I have some rest, I'm literally sitting with my hand down, just getting my fingers going. And this is how I do it. Another thing you can do is you can do big, huge hand stretches, because basically you want to like get your hand ready to play. So stretching your hand, getting it ready, closing it into a fist and then stretching it out again. I do this a lot. I do this one too, where I'm just stretching out my fingers, getting them ready to play. A lot of times my bow arm doesn't need to be warmed up specifically, like it can kind of warm up as I'm playing, but my left hand, specifically my vibrato, needs to get warmed up. So that's when I will do, I'll do this as I'm warming up. And I think this is a great practice to do. It kind of helps you to remember how to do the noodle bagel as you're warming up or practicing without your violin. So that's what I do. How do I get better at being in tune with finger placement? Ooh, that is a good question. My biggest tip, if you're a beginner, oh my gosh, the stink bug's right there. If I smash him on my couch, he's gonna make my couch smell like a stink bug. He's freaking right there. Anyways, I'm gonna stop looking at it. There was a good question. How do I get better at being tuned? That's right, okay. So if you're a beginner, get finger tapes. It's absolutely amazing to do that. On my previous video, I talked about finger tapes and being in tune. I also linked the finger tapes that I really like on that video. So get finger tapes, because that's super helpful. Basically what that's doing, and the purpose of them is, again, like I said, it's all ear and muscle memory. So from the beginning, you have to teach your fingers the muscle memory. If you take those tapes off before you're ready, you're not gonna get that muscle memory, because you've never told your fingers, this is exactly where you go, because you're kind of like, I think it's here-ish, it's there-ish, and now you don't have an exact placement of where your finger goes every single time. So I think that having those tapes as long as you possibly can is so good. And then once you're ready and your ear knows, this is where my third finger goes every single time, this is what a D sounds like, then you can take those off. So that's kind of what I would recommend, is I would say get tapes and use them, and then slowly see if you can start not using them and just relying on your ear, because your goal is to have your ear tell you if you're in tune, and also your fingers just be able to kind of know where to go, and then your finger double check, or your ear double checks it. So that's kind of what I would recommend doing. I had tapes on my violin probably for the first 5 or 6 years. Again, I started when I was really young, so it's a little bit different. I think now most players, if you're learning, if you're self-taught, I think you should probably keep the tapes on for about a year to help your ear develop. And along with that, another really helpful thing to do, like I said, if you use the Suzuki book, we keep coming back to this somehow. If you use the Suzuki books, they all have, you can go onto iTunes or something like that, and they have a violinist playing every single song in there. And that's so important to listen to those, to get the sound of the violin in your ear, because that's something else that will help you play in tune, is listening and being able to play it at the same time. That's what I'd recommend. That's a great question though. Oh, hugs from Brazil. Thank you. Hi. Oh my gosh. Jeez Louise. Sorry. Okay. We have just a few more questions to get through. How do you do vibrato, please? I watched so many videos and they don't help me. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I have a whole ton of videos on how to do vibrato. I could walk you through it quickly, but honestly, they're gonna be so much more in depth on the videos that I have. So if you watched mine and they not help either, I'm so sorry. I have a book too that I wrote on vibrato, because I love vibrato. I love teaching vibrato. It changed my life when I learned how to do noodle bagel. because before I was doing arm vibrato and it just, Jesus, I'm so sorry, was not working for me. Yeah, so that's, go onto my channel. I have a playlist called, I think it's my vibrato series. Yeah. Go on there, watch those all. I even tell you, like, before you even start vibrato, make sure you know these things, because that might be part of it too, is that you're not even ready to learn how to do vibrato and you're trying to jump into it too soon. So that might be something. If that's not the problem, then you're trying to learn it too quickly. It takes months to learn how to do vibrato. So go slowly and just play it slowly for a while. Like literally incorporate just really slow vibrato into your songs and just get used to it. And then you'll find you'll be able to speed it up faster and faster. And if you're pretty soon, you're just gonna be doing vibrato in songs. That's kind of what I recommend. Why do violinists move their head about so much when they play? I don't know where you're getting these questions from, dude. I don't know. Hi Corey, I have a weird issue where the bow slides towards the fingerboard when I play a note on the A string. Zach, this is a great question too. There's so many good questions today that I don't think I've answered most of these before. These are great questions. Okay, I know exactly what you mean. I started playing with like I said, I started when I was very young. So I actually use what's called a bow right. And it's basically like this metal thing that goes on your violin and your bow goes straight through the center of it. And that's what I played with for years. And finally I had to take that bow right off to learn how to play without it. And my bow was sliding all over like nobody's freaking business. But what I would say to do is when your bow is here on the violin, just place it about middle. I want you to look and see this box right here. Do you see this? It kind of like my hand is square and everything like that, right? This is so important to know. So when you're coming from the frog and you go to the center, it's going to be coming from your shoulder. That part comes from your shoulder. And as soon as you get to here, as soon as you get to the center, as soon as you see that box, now it's going to be coming from your elbow. Do you see that? Learning how to move your elbow and when to move your shoulder is so important, because if you're just the whole time trying to make it come from your shoulder, like a lot of people are when they first start, your bow is going to do this. So we're not going on a run. Our hand is staying right here in front of us like that. That's how to do have a straight bow. Sorry, I put somebody in timeout. Don't get to that. Okay. I hope that helped, Zach. I hope that was helpful. Okay, I'm gonna try and finish up the questions that we have here. Did your husband continue learning violin after you taught Twinkle Twinkle? Oh, no, he didn't. I mean, he's played a few times since, but I mean, he works so much and he's so busy that I don't think he really wants to learn the violin. I think if he were to learn an instrument, I think he really wants to learn either guitar or piano. He's talked about that. And that'd be nice to have like a guitarist or pianist in the house. But yeah, but he honestly, I was so impressed with how well he picked it up. He did super duper good. That's so funny though. All right. Also, can you tell me how to make your bow to not bounce, because in orchestra we're playing Dragon Hunter and I have bow lifts and it bounces. Ooh, I know exactly what you mean. Set your bow on the string and then play. So your bow doesn't come from the sky and when you land, and we crash land like that. You want to set your bow down, then play. And this is something, I know it sounds like set your bow, play, but it happens so fast that after a while, you're not even going to think about it, but set your bow, play, set your bow, play, like that. Every time your bow comes off the string, we set it down and then we play. Very few times do you come from the sky and play. Very few times. What was the name of the rosin again? Andre, oh, you know what? This is not called Andre anymore. I want to say it's called Cecilia. I think they changed the name of it. That's the more professional, don't let anybody share your rosin one. And then Kaplan. This is the other one, my favorite, student one. I wouldn't even say this is student, to be totally honest. If I didn't have this, I would just be using this, but I love this rosin so much that, yeah. Okay. Last question I think we have here. I just started learning, what do you think is more important, learning to be in tune or rhythm and notes? That is a great question. Learning to be in tune or rhythm and notes. Oh my goodness. I think that all of it is important. So what I think you should do is I think you should get tapes on your violin, okay? Get tapes on your violin, because then it's something, basically, like I said, your goal is to get your fingers moving muscle memory, okay? So get tapes on your violin, and just so that that's the only thing you have to worry about. If you don't get tapes, your fingers are never gonna know where to go. Your ear's never gonna know what it's supposed to sound like. So you're never going to be in tune. If you get tapes, you actually kind of don't have to think about it anymore, right? Your fingers are learning the muscle memory, you're learning the violin, you're being able to play, you're being able to also focus on rhythm and notes while your fingers are learning how to be in tune. So you're kind of able to do everything at the same time. So get tapes on your violin so that you can just teach your hand that. Also, then your ear is always learning, my third finger sounds like this because there he's on that string. So tune your violin every time before you play as well, because you want to be teaching your ear that this note is in tune now, because my violin's in tune, it's on the correct string, it's on the correct line, all the things, okay? So that's what I would say to do. And then you're able to also focus on rhythm and notes. And as we were talking about the Suzuki method, just coming back to that all over again, which is so funny that we just talked about this the whole time today. Suzuki starts by teaching you rhythms. So it starts out with like things like pepperoni pizza. And honestly, the reason Suzuki does this, the reason they start with this pepperoni pizza, all the things, twinkle twinkle, is because it teaches your bow how to move. So just like I was talking with Zach, I think about moving your bow from here, you moving your, from your elbow. That's showing you that when you're here and you start moving your elbow, because you know where the hardest part to play is? At the frog, because it's the most heaviest and you have to have the most pressure there. So by learning first these rhythms here, you're learning how to move the bow without the pressure of trying to figure out how to play at the frog too. So that's kind of what I would say. I hope that's what you were asking, that's answering your question, but I would say kind of you almost have to do all the things, but by putting tapes on your violin, you're eliminating one issue where it's happening passively as you're learning the other things as well. Because bow is one of the hardest things to learn on the violin. So make this passive so that this just happens, and then you can focus on something else. Cool. We have tapes, but I play other instruments so I can hear how out of tune I am. It sucks. Yeah. So for sure, I would say make sure your violin's in tune, and then play, like, learn slower. Like, don't try to play so much. Just focus on maybe just A1, like, get your first finger accustomed with where to go every single time, and then go to 1, 2. Freaking bug. And just kind of getting your fingers accustomed with what to do, so that your goal again is muscle memory. So try and build up that muscle memory with a little bit of repetition. Okay. When looking at dynamics, where do you usually play piano or pianissimo on the bow and violin? What kind of pressure do you use? That kind of depends. It varies a lot. Piano and pianissimo, usually a lot of times what's helpful is to use less bow hair. So if I was going to go play pianissimo, I would immediately turn my bow hair to be playing on very, very few bow hairs. So I'm playing very quietly. I wouldn't necessarily immediately go to playing over my fingerboard, even though that does make it quieter. It kind of depends. I would first start playing on less and less bow hair and using my pinky nice and strongly to lift my bow up. So I'm holding the majority of the weight of my bow. It's not in the violin. I'm holding the majority of the weight of my bow as it's turned, and I'm playing on just a few hairs. And I'm gonna play very quietly. So that's kind of what I would do. Also, if you play a little bit closer to the tip, that helps you to play a little bit quieter. But 99% of the time, honestly, like if you're just trying to play up here and you're just trying to play pianissimo up here, like you still have to be able to use more bow. So just using less bow hair, playing on less bow hair, and having your pinky hold the majority of the weight of the bow as you're playing is probably your best bet for that. All right. How to prevent neck pain. Oh my goodness me. Stand up when you play. Work on keeping your thinking about where your spine is in alignment with your neck so that you're not putting your neck forward like this as you're playing or any weird positions, like keeping your neck aligned on your spine. So literally that's why I say when you go to, if you missed the part where I was showing you how to put your violin on your shoulder and then you turn your head and you just set it there, because otherwise, if you're doing something weird with your neck, like you're gonna get neck pain. The other thing is if you have a shoulder rest, making sure it's the length of your neck. So I have a slightly longer neck. So I actually have replaced the feet on my shoulder rests with super long feet. So that, super long, what's it called? These. So they extend really, really nice and far so that I'm able to have my violin up high enough that I just bring my neck over and set it down rather than bringing it all the way down here or having to lift up my shoulder, because sometimes the neck pain is from lifting up your shoulder on either side, like whether you're lifting up your bow arm shoulder and playing like this or you're lifting up your violin shoulder and playing like this. So that can be also why you have neck pain. Yeah. Okay. Freaking bug. Okay, I think that's all. I think that's all I'm gonna do today. How do I dispose to the position? I should turn, to which position should I turn the tip? You mean this? The screw? Is that what you mean? How do you know when your bow is tight enough? I think that's the question. You want to kind of be able to barely fit your pinky through. Like I can't fully fit my pinky through. If you can completely fit your pinky through, then like here, your bow is way too tight. You need to loosen it up. So making sure that it still has a nice, your bow is called a bow because it's like a bow and arrow. It used to go this way, now it goes this way. They've changed it. But making sure that there's still a nice little scoop in it and that you can just barely, I can't even completely fit my pinky through, but it can kind of get in there. If you can't fit your pinky at all, then you don't have it tight enough. So tighten up your bow, put your pinky just the tip of your pinky should barely fit through your bow. Okay, are you gonna answer the questions from your post? Ah, freaking darn it, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. There were so many questions here today, I forgot, oh my gosh. Okay, yes, we are gonna answer those so quickly. Thank you so much for saying that, I'm so sorry. Okay, if you've been waiting for that, when's the difference in arm and wrist vibrato in learning as well when to use them? So the difference of arm and wrist vibrato is when it's coming from your wrist. Arm vibrato is when it's coming from your arm here. The difference is just purely which one you prefer to do. And if you prefer to do wrist or arm vibrato, that's kind of personal preference. Like I said, I learned arm vibrato, and then when I was later about to go to college, my teacher told me I needed to do wrist vibrato because it was better for me. I learned wrist vibrato, is my favorite thing ever. So kind of figure out what's best for you. There are people on YouTube that are teaching both, so figure out what works for you. There's also a million thousand different ways to learn vibrato. So even if you don't learn from my way, figure out what works for you. I explained the metronome. 2 things, I practice about 1.5 hours a day, and my left index finger and my middle finger are very sore, probably from so much repetition, especially on the A and E string. Will this resolve on its own, or do you have any advice on how to minimize this so I don't miss practice? Okay, so she's saying that when she's playing on the A and the E string, her first finger, index and middle finger are very sore, probably from so much repetition. Okay, what's possible is that you either have your hand too high and then you're trying to play like from a weird angle, or they're too low and your fingers can't get up to where they need to be. Make sure that your violin is sitting here and it's sitting right here against this, right here. This is where your violin sits. Do you see that? So it's not sitting down here on this, like my bone, my knuckle right there. It's sitting between this knuckle and this knuckle right there. That's where your violin should sit. So that then when you go to put your finger down, it can come down like a perfect castle top. This is what my mom used to call, like, you know, castles. When you like draw a castle as a kid, you draw them like with the little castle tops. That's how you want your finger to sit. Also like sitting on the very right tippy toe. And I don't think it will resolve its own. I think you need to figure out what's going on with that. If you need to send me a video, send it to my email, coreytheviolinist@gmail.com, if that would be helpful, because then I can look and kind of tell you a little bit more what might be happening. The second is my short pinky finger when I use it, especially in etude and minuets books. One, which I'm learning now, it causes a lot of tension in my left hand. I don't have a death grip. A, B, C, da, 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 dum. I know what you're talking about, yeah. Okay, so it's possible, two things. It's possible that your violin is actually too big for you. I don't know how old you are, but it's possible your violin's too big for you. So, especially if you feel like your fourth finger can't make it, that's very possible. So, what I would do is I would put your violin up on your shoulder, hold it here, and then stick your hand all the way out. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to show this. Okay, so stick your hand all the way out. And your violin should, obviously my violin is a full-size violin. If it's me, it's fine. But what should happen is your violin should be, when you stretch your hand all the way out, let's say that my hand is completely straight here. Your violin should sit right here along the lines of your hand right here. Your violin should not extend out into your palm, okay? So if you, like I said, you put your violin here, you stick your hand straight out. If your scroll is sitting in the palm of your hand when your violin is completely straight out, it's way too big for you. So make sure that it's here, it's sitting here or further, okay? So wrist or further. If it's in the palm of your hand, it's way too big, okay? So it's possible that you're trying to play on too big of a violin, and that's why your pinky cannot make it, and that's probably also why you're then having these issues with your first finger and your second finger, and then your fourth finger not fitting. Okay, so when you're playing this part in etude, make sure that your fourth finger also is ready to play. If he's here, which I see sometimes because when we haven't played our fourth finger and we're just starting to learn it, he sits here completely curled up, and then we go to play him and he like is coming from this like basically like hyper squished position to being like fully extended. Sometimes that movement can actually really be painful. So what I would recommend is making sure that your fingers are all hovering over the string. So that your fourth finger is already ready to play. Like almost maybe put your fourth finger down where he needs to be, pick him up, and then play from that place. So he goes right down, okay? That's kind of what I recommend for that. Okay. Since my elbow, yeah, it's twisting, since I have to twist and move my elbow forward under the violin so much, it sounds like your violin might be too small for you, or too big for you. I might be wrong. Test it and see, okay? Yeah. I have issues when I retake the bow during fast tempos. I tend to crash land on the next string to be able to keep the piece of the speed of the piece I'm playing. Again, I think I talked to somebody else about this. I don't know if maybe you'd ask this question in here, but when you're playing, you want to set your bow before you play every single time. So set, play, set, play, set, play. And as you get faster and faster at this, you're just gonna get better and better and better about like just being able to very quickly set, play, set, play, set, play, set, play every single time. Was that all the questions? I think I answered all the questions. Okay. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I forgot about those. They're at the very end. Thank you for that. I had my concert today and I played my violin. Good job! I play viola, but I'm beginner in orchestra, and I had 3 concerts in my skill showcase, Windsor concert, and my favorite, the round arpeggio and accompaniment with viola, violoncello, and bass. Very cool. Love that. Great job. Okay, you guys, that's all for today. I'm gonna go. This has been much longer than I was planning. I was just planning to do an hour. But thank you all for sitting with me, for asking questions. It's so fun to get to do this. I love getting to kind of answer questions in real time. If you have any more questions, feel free, as always, to email me, CoreyTheViolinist@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to answer questions there. And like I said, if you want to send me a video, like if you have a question about a specific posture thing, or vibrato or something like that, that you really are like, I need help with whatever it is, like very specific help, feel free to send me a video. I'm more than happy to check it out and see if I can just help you over email. Sometimes it takes more than that, but usually I can kind of assess what's going on just by seeing. Sometimes when we're just hearing about it, it's harder to say. But anyways, thank you guys all for sitting with me. This was so fun, and I am excited to get to be posting more videos and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I will be posting a video tomorrow all about how to put your violin on your shoulder, how to probably have good posture, especially as a beginner violinist, because that is so incredibly important. All right, you guys. Well, I'm setting up to practice right now. You go practice. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.